All right, guys, we are going to get started. Hey, guys, thanks for joining me. First of all, I just wanted to, if you have the capability to let me know where you're coming from, let us know. I want to hear where you guys coming in from. We'll start here in a little bit. Looks like we're filling up. We're filling up. Welcome to the webinar. I want to hear where some of you guys are from, and we'll get going here in a little bit. All right. Okay, we got Tennessee in the house. We got Nashville, Indianapolis, San Jose, California. We got Phoenix. Oh, cool. From all over the place. Virginia in the house. This is awesome. Well, I want to welcome all of you guys. And so the reason I don't know the exact reason why you decided to join this podcast, or I'm sorry, this podcast. I'm used to doing my podcast, do this webinar. But whether you're an athlete, whether you're a coach, a gym owner, I want you to leave this next 60 minutes with very specific strategies or tactics to help you, whether help you personally, help you in the gym. I don't know what sport you play. Maybe you're a parent of an athlete or a coach of an athlete. I want to give you some of the exact same tactics that we use with elite athletes. And first of all, super grateful that all of you guys are here. We got Massachusetts and Montana, Atlanta. So really grateful that everybody is here. What I'd like you to do, what I hope you're doing is I hope you have a notebook or something to write with or a phone or really good memory that you can remember these principles and these strategies that we're going to be sharing. And what I'd like you to do is to write down some questions. And as we go through it, try to see if these strategies that we talk about answer your questions. And if not, please write them in the comment box, and I'll go back and I'll try to see if I can answer them. If you try to connect with me during the presentation, have some patience with me because I'll have to go back and have to see whoever's responding. So what we're going to get into today are called 10 things mentally tough people don't do. One of the things I want to get right off the bat is that mentally tough athletes, these are some of the greatest athletes in the world who I've worked with, they have bad days. Sometimes they're not so mentally tough. Sometimes they doubt themselves. Sometimes they beat up on themselves because of their failures, or they shrink in the face of pressure and adversity, just like everybody else. And so we can put these great athletes or performers on a pedestal sometime, but they would tell you, just like myself, is that they're human. And they have learned to train themselves to perform at a really high level. And so as you go through today, as we go through these today, I want you to not just be so overwhelmed and try to apply all of them, but just maybe see if there's one that really resonates with you. Okay, so let's get into it. 10 things mentally tough people don't do. Okay, number one, they don't underestimate the power of little things. So I want to start with a story. In 2003, there was a gentleman named David Brailsford. Now, David Brailsford was and currently is, the high performance director of the Great Britain cycling team. Now, when he joined them, the team was very mediocre, just like many of us in our own lives. But he decided, in order to make big changes, they need to make little tiny adjustments. And the principle he called the aggregation of marginal improvements, just those marginal gains, aggregation of marginal gains. In other words, he wanted to improve by 1% in a lot of different things. And so he improved the seats. He improved the lotion that the cyclists rubbed on themselves. He improved their pillows. He improved every little thing to help them, to give them just a 1% increase in performance. And as he focused on all those little things, and not just him, all the coaches, all the athletes focused on those little things, something incredible happened. Big changes happened. So much to the point where in 2008, 2008, they ended up winning an incredible amount of gold medals. The next Olympics, they continued their dominant approach and just continued to dominate. So one thing that a lot of people underestimate are the power of the little things. They do things on purpose, with purpose. So if you are an athlete and you're watching this and you have all these amazing goals and you want to do incredible things, and you look at these athletes on social media, these CrossFit superstars, one thing they're very, very good at is they embrace the boredom of consistency. They're willing to do the little things and work on the tiny little things that they're probably already really good at over and over and over again. So my question to you, and a question that you can ask yourself, is what are small things I need to start doing in order to enhance performance? It could be as simple as body language. It could be as simple as how you respond to your coach when they give you feedback, even that feedback you don't want to receive. It could be as simple as showing up early for your training session instead of just showing up there right before. It could be as simple as activating more before a workout. All those little things, the music you listen to. Another thing you can ask yourself is, what's one small thing I need to stop doing? It might be stop beating up on yourself. It might be stop replaying those failures in your mind over and over and over again. It might be stop comparing yourself to other people or even comparing yourself to your old self. Those tiny little things end up making a big difference. So again, one thing mentally tough people don't do is they don't underestimate the power of small things. And I've said it before. For those of you who follow me for a while, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Little by little, a little becomes a lot. And one of the smallest units that you need to focus on is today. What can you do today? What I would suggest you do when you wake up in the morning, before a practice session, before a workout session, is to grab an index card or to grab your notebook and to literally write down, what is the objective for today? What is the purpose of today? That tiny little exercise right there will help you stay focused, will help you stay locked in on the main thing. And we all know Stephen Covey's quote, the main thing is to keep the main thing. And that will help you make a little bit of progress and a little bit more next time and a little bit more next time. We want these big, grandiose changes, but the reality is the power comes in the consistency of getting 1% better every day. The mentally tough are masters at that. It's no secret. They're incredible at that. Number 2, mentally tough people don't let failure derail them. One of my favorite stories about failure is from a woman named Sara Blakely. Now, some of you may have heard of her. Her name is, she is the CEO of Spanx. And she tells this story. She was asked by an interviewer how she has this mindset. How is she so bold and audacious to be, she's the first or the youngest self-made billionaire, the youngest female self-made billionaire of all time, ever in the history of planet Earth. And they asked her, like, how did you do that? And she attributed a lot of her success to her dad. And she said that when she was younger, her dad they'd eat dinner together, and her dad would ask her and her brother the same question every night. It was an interesting question, because normally as parents, we'll ask our kids, what did you learn today? What was good about today? Her dad asked a different question. In what did you fail? What did you fail at today? That was a question Sara Blakely's father asked her. And that's a very interesting question because it causes you to focus on your failures. But what her dad was teaching her and her brother to do was to look for those failures. And not just look for the failures, but to look to them so that they can learn from them and become stronger as a result of them. And Sara Blakely goes on to say, she goes, her dad taught her to be fearless. Her dad taught her to embrace failure and to realize that failure is part of something you experience every single day. Now, I will say this. A lot of times you'll hear from people, including myself, learn from failure, embrace failure, use failure as data. You hear it all the time, and I think it is great. But one thing the elite performers of the world understand is that not all failures are created equal. They are not created equal. So if you're an athlete watching this and you're thinking, oh, I could just go out and fail, it's not just any type of failure. There's 3 types. Type number 1 are preventable failures. Failures that you have absolute control over, and the reason you failed is just because of lack of effort, a lack of care. You just get lazy. Blaming other people, noticing that you're not going to perform very well in the workout and just kind of throwing in the towel. That's failure, but that's not the kind of failure Sara Blakely's talking about. These are preventable failures. Forgetting your equipment at home, calling up or having to call your mom because You forgot where the field was, or I don't know which athletes are watching this, but these are preventable failures. These are not the failures we're talking about. Failure number 2 are the uncontrollable failures. These are the failures that you do your absolute best. You put in the work, you give your best, but you come up short. You lose. You get injured. Equipment malfunction. Something that you have no control over, but as a result, it ends up failing on you, or you end up failing, but there's no control of yours. Again, it's still painful. And the first one, the controllable failures are still painful. The failures that I'm talking about, the ones that you need to embrace, the ones that you learn most from, you can learn from them all, but the ones we really want to seek out and embrace are the efficient or the effective failures. These are the failures where you go for it. The reason you're watching this webinar is because you want to take your performance to the next level, or you want to help someone else take their performance to the next level, or you're a mental skills coach and you want to teach people and help them understand the nuances of mental skills training so you can apply it to your own practice. All of those are great. And obviously we'll welcome you all for being here. But one of the things to understand is that failure is a part of the journey. I was just on the phone, literally about 2 hours before this webinar, talking to a fellow mental skills coach who's young in the field. And he said, Justin, I'm afraid to fail, having to overcome it. And these are coaches who teach this, who are afraid to experience it, myself as well. And a lot of times we're not afraid to fail. I think some of you're okay to fail. What you are afraid of is you care too much of what other people think about your failures. What does my coach think about my failures? What do all my followers think about my failures? What do other people think about the failures of my kids? See that a lot as well. And so embrace the effective failures and learn and understand that it is part of the journey. Before I move into the next one of my favorite stories of failures is that of Thomas Edison. In 1914, in December, I believe, it was in the afternoon, his factory that he worked so hard to create all of his inventions just went up in flames. An explosion happened, destroyed his entire factory. And Reader's Digest ends up telling the story. His son was able to recall many years later that his father, Thomas Edison, was standing across the street and looking at his building just go up in flames. Thomas Edison's son says that his dad said, go get your mom and her friends. Tell them to come here because they'll never see a spectacle quite like this. The New York Times interviewed Thomas Edison that same day. And they asked him how he felt. Like, what do you do now? All of your life works, all of your inventions, your prototypes, gone. It was about $23 million worth of damage, which is a lot in today's age, but it was everything back in those days. And Thomas Edison said something very interesting. He said, I'm 67 years old. The only thing to do now is to show up tomorrow morning and start all over again. Wouldn't you know it, he gets a loan from Henry Ford, and the next year, they make $10 million in profits. Here's an amazing story of a man who achieved so many things, but he did so through adversity. So my question to you is this: how do you respond to adversity? Now, you might be asking yourself, Justin, I want to get better at responding to adversity, but how do I do it? Here's a simple tactic that you can practice. It's called implementation intentions. The reason a lot of people struggle with failure, there could be a lot of variables. I mean, we can talk about a lot of different things, but I want to give you tactics. Let's get into the strategies because we got the Open coming pretty soon, and you need strategies. So here's what I'd say. What I would say is identify your failures, your big failures or your micro failures, your stressors, those things that can snag you a little bit, either mentally or emotionally or even physically. And then what I want you to do by yourself or with somebody, I want you to go through each one of those mini failures, those stress, those things that can activate your stress. And I want you to talk about how they normally respond. How do you respond to them? Maybe let's stay in the world of CrossFit. Maybe your chest to bars aren't very good right now. and you beat up on yourself if it's in a workout. Maybe you're not very strong. Maybe you're not very flexible. Maybe you hate the rower or whatever it may be, or the bike, the assault bike. And once you see it in a workout, all of a sudden, all these negative thoughts start to come. That's your default setting. What you got to do is now what you do is you identify what your failures are, and then you identify what you're going to choose, what you're going to choose to do when those failures happen, when those stressors happen. So instead of getting all emotional and psychologically kind of derailed when you see an assault bike in the workout for the open, or when you see a certain movement that you don't like, or a certain exercise, or whatever it may be. I'm speaking to the CrossFit world right now. Instead of allowing your default setting to hit, plan ahead of time. How do you want to respond to that? How do you want to respond to making an error? How do you want to respond when you give up an interception if you're a quarterback? How do you want to respond if you're coaching someone and they don't stick with the game plan? Rather than fall into your default setting, have a plan for it. And what's going to happen psychologically in your mind, when you allow failure to derail you, it activates the amygdala effect. The amygdala is about the size of your pinky nail. There's two of them, actually. And is in between, or the intersection between your eye and your ear. And that's the fight, flight, or freeze mode. You're not thinking. You'll send texts that you regret. You'll say things you regret. You'll do things you regret. That's the animal mode. You're seeing red. You can't afford that in a competition. You can't afford to be like that as a coach or as a parent. And if you don't have a plan for adversity, that's what you're going to slip into. That's going to be your default. Instead of that, plan your response to adversity. And now what's going to happen is your prefrontal cortex, the newest part of our brains, is going to be scanning the environment for that event, for that experience. And when adversity strikes, your brain is going to be like, oh, we have a plan for that. You're going to be a lot more likely to respond effectively to adversity, to failure, if you plan your response to it, as opposed to allowing yourself to just get beat up by it through default. That's number two. Mentally tough people don't let failure derail them. Number three, mentally tough people don't focus on their feelings. Gus Kamado, was Mike Tyson's trainer, and he has one of my favorite quotes. He says, "You are not judged by how you feel. You're only judged by what you do." If you want to perform at a high level at the open or in whatever you do, one of the things you have to learn is that you can't take counsel from your feelings. You're not always going to feel motivated. You're not always going to feel positive. You're not always going to feel good and confident. And that's okay. And that's normal. If you look at some of the best athletes in your sport and you think that they always feel like a beast, if you think they always feel confident, you're absolutely 100% wrong, because they don't. They do not, and they would tell you this as well. And so it's learning to focus through those feelings and not take counsel from those feelings and focus on actions instead. There's a great book called Resilience or Resilient. Can't remember which one, but it's outstanding book. And in this book is this Navy SEAL, Eric Greitens is the author of it, former Navy SEAL. And he gives an amazing formula. He says the average person, they work through the formula. I'm going to give you 3 letters. FAI. Feelings, actions, identity. What happens to a lot of us is if we take counsel from our feelings, the way it looks is this. If we feel sad, then chances are we're going to act sad. And then it's going to strengthen our identity. We're just going to be sad. Like, it's going to strengthen our identity of being sad in that moment or in that circumstance. Feel stressed, act stressed, be stressed. Feel angry, we're going to act angry, and we're going to be angry. It's going to anchor in and solidify that identity in that circumstance. Now, the best performers in the world, they have a different model. They start with the I, the identity, and then based on who you are as a person or who you want to be or the best version of yourself, act that way. And then let your feelings follow. As you can see, feelings are on the back burner. And the example I give with this to show you how fickle feelings are, for those of you who've gone to school, I imagine everyone here has gone to school, what happens to a lot of people is, so think about this, have you ever gone into a test feeling so confident, And while you're taking the test, you're feeling so good. You turn the test in feeling really good, only to get the results back and you got a bad grade. Contrary to that, have you ever gone into a test feeling bad? You're taking it feeling bad, thinking, I'm bombing this. You're handing it in feeling bad, but you kind of feel good because now it's over with, only to get the test back and you nailed it. Interesting, right? Now let's move that to sport. Have you ever gone into a workout feeling great? You're doing, and then all of a sudden you go into it and the performance, the results are terrible. Or have you ever gone into a workout not feeling very confident, or a game or a competition not feeling very confident, and then performing really well? That's what feelings do. So you can't allow your feeling, how you feel, to dictate and to be a predictor of how you're going to perform. And so focus on your identity. So here's the tool for you. What I'd invite you to do is imagine yourself in whatever sport you play. Imagine yourself having 100 people watch you in a workout, at your game, at a competition, at a match, whatever it is. Again, I do not know what sport you play. And so what I want you to do is I want you to imagine, visualize going through the workout, and I want you to imagine everybody having an index card who's watching you, and a pen. And as you're going through the workout, when it's all done, or the competition, they are going to write about you. They're going to give their opinion about you in one word. And then they're all going to write on the index card, and they're all going to turn it in. My question to you is this. What 3 to 5 words do you want to see on those index cards over and over and over? Maybe it's fighter. Maybe it's resilient. Maybe it's focus. Maybe it's beast. Maybe it's confident. Maybe it's, I don't know. Whatever your words are, that is your identity. That is how you want to be remembered. That is what you want to be known for. You just revealed it right there. So then you take that, and then you act according to that. So let's say this. Let's say you go into your box, you go into a workout, or you go into the field or court, whatever it may be, and you're not feeling very good. Instead of focusing on your feelings, reconnect to your identity. Those things that you want everyone to write about you on that index card. Okay, I don't feel good, but I'm a beast. And I'm about to go do what a beast does. I'm about to go do what a focused athlete does. I'm about to go do what a winner, what a champion does, regardless of how I feel. And then allow the feelings to follow. Focus on your identity. Act in accordance to your identity, and let the feelings follow. Number 4. These are awesome. I hope you're enjoying these. I'm enjoying these. 10 things mentally tough people don't do. Number 4, they don't take their energy they don't take their energy for granted. They don't take their energy for granted. And this is what I mean by that. I want you to think back to your best performance. Best performance. Okay, I want you to visualize it. I want you to see yourself experiencing it. It might have been a workout. It might have been an actual competition. It might have been with nobody around. Might have been a lot of people around. Might have been the open, a regional, whatever. I want you to visualize that. Okay, when you are at your best, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being incredibly intense, a lot of energy. 1 being, give me a pillow, I'm ready to go to sleep. What range of energy were you at when you're at your best? What range of energy? Some of you, it was an 8 to a 9, and you have to be incredibly high energy. Some of you, it was a 5 to 6. Some of you, depending on the sport, you need to be a little bit more chill, a little bit more cool. You need to be at a 4 to 5. Some of you, that's too low. You need to be at a 9 to 10. And I do understand the nuances of sport. It depends on the workout. It depends on the movement. It depends on the day. I get it. It all depends. However, if you're going to get ready to go into the open, if you're going to get ready to go into competition, you should know what number of intensity you need to be at to be performing at your best. Know your number. Know your number. This is why. Because when you are above that number, let's say, just for example's sake, you perform at your best when you're at a 6 to 7 of intensity. You're at about a 6 or 7. Your body feels good. You're intense, but not too tense. You're focused. You're amped up. You're not too amped up. But right before you hear it's about 1 minute left to go, all of a sudden your heart just starts going crazy. or maybe the night before, your heart's going crazy. You can't even sleep. You're 24 hours away from performing and you're already getting all amped up. You should recognize you're at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You should have some tools that when you get too high, to slow yourself down and you bring yourself back into the 5, 6, 7 range. If you're too low and you're dragging energy-wise, physiologically-wise, you should have some tools, some things you can use to get yourself up, to ramp yourself up. Let me give you some examples. So example, let's say you're too high. Let's say you're a little bit too amped up. Tactical breathing, slowing your breath down. How much? Here's a simple little tool. You can do box breathing. You can do inhale for 4 counts, hold it for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts, hold it. Hold the exhale for 4. Inhale for 4, hold it for 4, exhale for 4, hold it for 4. That's called box breathing. You can do, if that's too hard, you can do something as simple as 1 breath, inhale and exhale every 10 seconds. One thing we're noticing with our athlete, but the research shows, if you can get 4 to 6 breaths in a minute, you've really slowed down your heart rate and it helps you really slow everything down. It could be a self-talk mechanism. It could be words you say to yourself to trigger yourself to bring yourself down. If you're too low in energy, maybe it's certain music you listen to. Maybe it's maybe it is a breathing technique you use. I've known athletes who start to breathe a little bit faster just to get their heart rate up, just to get them locked in a little bit more. Maybe it's reconnecting with your why. And we're going to talk about that in a little bit, to connect to the things that matter most for you. Finding something to help you modulate your energy, but you have to know, it's called the zone of optimal functioning. You got to know your sweet spot when it comes to energy and have the awareness to know if you got to bring it down or if you got to bring it up. So mentally tough people don't take their energy for granted. Number 5, mentally tough people, they don't focus on the negative. It is so easy to get negative in sports, in life, first of all, in anything, but particularly in sports, because you're going and you're giving your best in everything you do. And sometimes your best isn't good enough. Sometimes your best today, you think, oh, I should kill this workout. I should be able to lift that weight. We should be able to beat this team. My athlete should be able to complete this. And then they don't. And then you don't perform very well. All of a sudden your mind's going to start playing crazy tricks on you. So negativity is common. It's a human mechanism that's used actually to protect us. The reason that you get a little afraid when you set huge goals is because your mind wants to protect you. It wants to protect you from danger. You might get this thought in your mind, that's too big. Hey, come back. That's too scary, to keep you right where you are. Because your brain doesn't want you to get hurt. So you got to learn to tell your brain, no, I'm good. Let us fly. We're going to go and we're going to do this. We say anywhere from 300 to 1,000 words to ourselves a minute, and a great majority of them are negative. And one tactic I want to teach you about the brain is, okay, now I want to play imagination with me. Imagine I have a cup, and this cup holds 10 ounces. And imagine I have a gallon of water. Now imagine I empty the entire gallon of water into this 10-ounce cup. 3 dumb questions. Dumb question number 1, how much water is going to be in the cup? I hope you said 10 ounces because it's 10 ounces. Dumb question number 2, why only 10 ounces? Because that's all it holds. Dumb question number 3, where's the rest of the gallon of water? All over my pants. This cup, this imaginary cup, it represents your mind, my mind, all of our minds. Our minds have limited capacity. There's only so much we can focus on at a time. And so when you fill your mind with stuff, it makes it a lot more difficult for other stuff to come in, not because it doesn't exist, but because there's no room. And so if you're filling your mind with negativity, whether it be deliberately or unconsciously, which generally tends to be unconsciously, when you fill your mind with negativity, beating up on yourself, thinking worst case scenario, when you fill it up, when positivity and positive thoughts want to come in, it's going to be a lot more difficult. Why? Because there's no room. One of my friends, John Gordon, great man, New York Times bestselling author. He has one of my favorite quotes when it comes to self-talk. Stop listening to yourself. Start talking to yourself. Stop listening to yourself and start talking to yourself. We all fall victim to thinking traps, cognitive distortions, as they say in the field of psychology, the psychological term to it. There are so many of them. But what I want to talk about are some common ones amongst athletes. For example, catastrophizing. That's an actual word, catastrophizing. And basically what catastrophizing is when you think worst case scenario. I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not strong enough. I'm not fast enough. He's better than me. She's better than me. You ask yourself these questions. What if I fail? What if I'm embarrassed? And the mind is crazy because it's better than Google. When you ask yourself a question, you know what your brain's going to do? It's going to do everything in its power to find you an answer. So if you ask yourself, why do I suck? You know what your brain's going to do? It's going to go in, it's going to dig up all these memories and give you evidence to why you suck. Evidence to why you're not going to perform very well. So if you want better questions, start asking yourself, if you want better answers, rather, start asking yourself better questions. Catastrophizing. Another one is filtering, where you only see the negative. You might have a coach, you might have a friend, you might have people say, no, look at the silver lining, look at the positive side. And you are so blind to it that you sincerely can't see the positive because you're beating up on yourself so much. That's called negative filtering. And then we have black and white thinking. There's some of you who are watching this where it's either all or nothing. Black or white, good or bad. There's no gray in there for you. So you'll go and you'll have a workout or you'll have a practice or you have a training or a competition and you had some good and you had some bad. And when you go to break it down after action review and to go over your results or how things went, all you think about is if I did a little bad, then I did all bad. Who cares about the good I did? I just care about the bad. It's all or nothing. I either win it all or I'm a complete failure. These are all traps. These are all little cognitive distortions that can block us from performing at a really high level. Remember, a positive brain performs better than a negative or neutral one. So what do? What's the tactic? I would grab an index card and I would write down all of the words that you want. What do you want to program your mind with? If you have the opportunity to program your mind to say, this is what I want to think during training. This is what I want to think during the open. This is what I want to think during burpees. This is what I want to think during handstand walks. Name it. Whatever you want to put in, write it down. And then you go over it and you think about it and you think about it. You take a card, put it in your car. You take another one, you put it on your mirror. You take another one, you put it in your wallet, all around you. So you constantly trip over this programming, these thoughts that you want to have. Because here's the other side of it. If you don't do that, again, you're gonna fall victim to your default setting, which is not helpful. So once again, mentally tough people, make sure I get the wording down, they don't focus on the negative. Number 6, we're rolling along, guys. This is great. Mentally tough people, they don't anchor their confidence in the wrong things. So I have been known to say, and I'll say it again, that confidence is overrated. And when I say that to some people, they gasp, like, what do you mean confidence is overrated? What I mean by that is a lot of times people seek to be confident. I think that's great. And I'm not going to discount the research that's out there. Obviously, if I had the chance, do you want confidence? Do you not want it? Yes, we want confidence. But the reason I say it's overrated goes back to what we talked about feelings. There are moments where you're confident and you don't perform well. And there are moments where you lack confidence and you perform great. So what I mean by confidence is overrated, I'm not saying it's completely discounted. I'm saying it falls into the feelings category, meaning that sometimes your confidence is not an indicator by what you're going to perform and how you're going to perform. However, I will say this. There's tremendous bodies of research that substantiate confidence, that show how it can be a performance enhancer. And I think the reason people who are confident perform really well is not a matter of confidence or not. It's where you anchor your confidence. Where do you put your confidence? That is one of the biggest indicators that will help you identify and help. It will either help you or it'll hurt you. So there's some research out there by a guy named Albert Bandura. A guy, probably one of the best psychologists that ever walked the face of the earth, that Albert Bandura, and he has something called the self-efficacy theory. And basically the self-efficacy theory states the different mechanism by which you can build confidence. So if you're struggling with confidence, how do I build it? Here is how you do it. Here's how you do it. So I'm going to give you 6 P's. Okay, I'm not going to use the psychological terms that he uses in his research. I'm going to use other things. Okay, so number 1. So the first one is your current performance. So your current, we all know that. The better you're performing today, the better you're performing right now, your confidence is going to go up. It's a no-brainer. The better you perform right now, the more confidence you're going to have. That's what happens to a lot of people. Now the problem is, what if you don't perform really well? What if you go into the first workout of the open and you just get destroyed? Can you still have confidence? Can you still sustain it? What do you do then? What do you do when all of your hard work isn't producing the results that you're working hard for? Then what happens to your confidence? Research shows that you can still sustain it. The second P stands for past performances. If you are struggling with your belief in yourself, go back to a time where you performed where you did great. Go back to a time where you were an absolute monster. You're an absolute beast. Go back to that time where people applauded you and you bring back those feelings. Play that tape in your mind. Revisit it. Because here's the cool thing about the brain. The brain doesn't know the difference between what's real and what's not. And so as we learn from dreams, you can have nightmares and your heart rate can start going. You can start sweating. You can start screaming and crying. And it's not really happening. It's happening right here. The body doesn't know the difference. You can have great dreams where you're laughing and you're smiling and you wake up, you're like, what a great dream. And you're like, oh, back to reality. But your emotions were really happy. It wasn't really happening. It's happening right here. And so you can use that to your advantage. If you're struggling with confidence, take your mind back to a time where you had a lot of confidence and you performed at a high level. Number 3, P, preparation. Preparation enhances confidence. The more you sharpen your axe, the more confidence you're going to have in yourself and your ability to perform at your best when you need it most. Number 4, positive thoughts. I guess we just talked about. Positive thoughts breeds confidence. They enhance confidence. Positivity helps you more motivation, more grit, more resilience, more focus. There's so many benefits to positivity. Start talking to yourself. Stop listening to yourself, because the default is going to be negative, like we talked about. Number 5, positive people. We talk about these fountains. These people in your life who are fountains of energy, fountains of optimism, of positivity. They help you see the bright side. They ask you good questions. They help you consider how you can be better and what you have done really well and how you are a strong person. Surround yourself by people. This is vicarious learning. And we're going to get into that here in a little bit as well. When you're around these fountains, they make you want to be a better version of yourself. Opposite of fountains are drains. These are the people who poke holes in your dreams. These are the people who suck the life out of the room, out of you, and they kind of drain you. Now, I will say this. Some of you might be related to drains. You might be the drain, and you're watching this webinar to change your ways. That happens. Sometimes you might be surrounded by drains and you can't change your circumstances. Okay, find them on YouTube. Listen to podcasts. Read books. We live in this day and age with social media where you can surround yourself with all these fountains to help you be a better version of yourself. And number 6, other people's successes. So the P is in the people's. Other people's successes. This is called vicarious learning. Basically, when you see someone succeed or do something you're trying to do, again, if you have the growth mindset, and that we haven't even gone there, we're not going to go there, but that could be another conversation. If you want to build confidence, watch someone who's about your level do the thing you want to do. What that does, you activate your mirror neurons, which can activate your motor neurons. So you watch them. It's kind of like this yawning. When you see someone yawn, it makes you want to yawn. When you see someone smile, it makes you want to smile. The same mechanism is happening. When you see someone succeed, you can actually use it to enhance your confidence. It's kind of like this. The study was done with snakes. So some people who are afraid of snakes, when they see other people carrying snakes who used to be afraid, that actually builds their confidence. Vicarious learning. You can learn and build confidence based on success and watching other people. So that's a way to build success. Now, another thing I would say to anchor you, those are the 6 P's. Another thing that anchor your success on is your ability to bounce back from failure. That right there is so huge. To be able to look in a mirror and say, no matter how bad this workout gets, no matter how terrible I do, no matter what happens, I'm going to dust myself off. I'm going to get back up and I'm going to do it again. Having confidence in your ability to keep going no matter what is one of the greatest places you can anchor your confidence in. One of my favorite proverbs is this: a bird can rest peacefully on a tree, on a branch, not because of its trust in the branch, because of its trust in its ability to fly. You can fly. No matter how many times you fail, how ugly you look, how ugly the failure looks, how bad it is, trust your ability to get up and fly again. Is it going to be painful? Yes. Is it going to be hard? Yes. Are you going to second guess yourself? Yes. Happens to everybody. But get up and go. Get up and do it. Mentally tough people don't anchor their confidence in the wrong things. You might be wondering, okay, so what's a wrong thing? Okay, a wrong thing to anchor your confidences are things that you have no control over. So if you anchor your confidence, let's say sports. I'm going to go with baseball. Let's go to baseball, for example. And you can find your own CrossFit example. Let's say I'm a pitcher and I have confidence in my curveball, confidence in my curveball. You know what? Sometimes you're not going to have a curveball that day. And if all of your confidence was in that curveball and you don't have it, it's going to happen to your confidence. And so you want to broaden your confidence portfolio. I'm not saying don't have confidence in your curveball. I'm saying, yeah, have confidence in your curveball, but have confidence in all these other things as well that we just mentioned to help you stay even keel throughout. Number 7. You guys are doing great. Number 7, mentally tough people don't play small. They don't play small. Go big. Go big. You don't need anyone's permission to be great. You don't need anyone's permission to do something amazing. And you might be thinking, who am I? Like, who am I to do this thing? Who am I? The greatest people in the world are just like you. They doubted. The greatest athletes in the world. They doubted. They wonder. They question themselves. You're going to go through moments where you're going to experience the imposter syndrome. You're going to wonder, am I a fake? Am I a fraud? Was that a fluke? Was that amazing workout a fluke? No. And even if you did perform it great, you're still a work in progress. You're never too good to get better. And so one of my favorite stories about this is Lou Holtz. He was a coach of many universities, the most notable being Notre Dame many years ago, football team. And there was a time in his life, in his late 20s, early 20s, in his 20s, where he didn't have a job. No job. And he was feeling sorry for himself. And he had a wife. They just bought a home. They're going to have a kid. And he was terrified. And it was a hit to his confidence as a coach. Like, who am I? I can't even provide for my family. And his wife bought him a book called The Power of Positive Thinking. And in the book, he gave an exercise for him to, Norman Vincent Peale, I believe, is the author, gave him an exercise to write down everything he wants to achieve. And Lou Holtz starts to go crazy. He writes down win a national championship. He writes down winning bowl games. He writes down being on the Johnny Carson show, which is like the Jimmy Fallon show of today. For those of you who don't know how old everybody is, he writes down hitting a hole in one, landing an aircraft carrier, eating with the president of the United States. Crazy stuff, like crazy stuff. He wasn't just like, it was crazy. So running with the Bulls. So it got to the point to where I can't remember the exact number, but let's just say it was 106. It was in the hundreds. 106 goals, things, bucket list items. And he takes it to his wife. He goes, sweetheart, I got it. 106 things, and we are going to do every single one of them. His wife grabs the list, and she's going over it. Interesting. And she goes, why don't you get a job? And he goes, okay, so I made it 107. And wouldn't you know it, he takes his paper, he puts it up, and he refers to it often. Lou Holtz, at this time, who doesn't have a job, ends up being a bowl-winning coach, national champion, landing an aircraft carrier, hitting a hole-in-one, being on the Johnny Carson show, eating dinner with the president, all these things. He said I can't remember how many, but almost all of them. Almost all of them. Now, the reason I say that is that's the power of belief. I think a common error that people do is they play small, play really small. When you sit down with these incredible athletes, they shoot for the stars. And I'll tell you this, it is scary. It is scary to say, I'm going to go all out and I'm going to achieve these goals, to know that you might fail. You're likely to fail. The odds are against you. The odds are against you. But the regret that you're going to feel not going full send, not going after it, is going to be a lot greater than the failure you're going to experience knowing that you gave it everything you had. You squeezed everything, every ounce of talent and effort out of yourself. I promise you that. Mentally tough people don't play small. We got to roll. We got to roll. Number 8, mentally tough people don't forget why they do what they do. Sorry, let me back up to number 7. Try that exercise. Grab a blank sheet of paper. Let it fly. What do you want to accomplish? I don't care if it's health, fitness, your sports, relationship, financial, school, work. Let it fly. Watch where your pen takes you. Don't judge yourself. You don't have to share it with anybody. And then as you're going through it, then take a look at it and then start narrowing it down. What are your top 20? What are your top 10? What are your top 5, 3, and 1? Try that exercise. See what it does to you. It's incredible. It's incredible. And then take the necessary steps to achieve those things. Next one is they don't forget why they do what they do. I was working with a Division I softball team once, and I'll never forget, there was a senior, she was a pitcher, and she did not want to be there. It was practice. She didn't want to be there. How do I know? Because she said it. She's like, I don't want to be here. And it was funny to see the patience of this coach, because he was asking her to break down her mechanics. And she was going through it. He would stop her every little movement. He would stop and ask her, why do you do that? Why do you do that? And she just kept being frustrated. She's like, I don't know. Every time, I don't know. And she just had enough one time. He said, why do you do that? And she yelled at him. She says, I don't know why I do it. I just do it, coach. And the practice went silent. And I'm sitting there watching, and I'm like, oh. So I kind of shuffle my way closer to see what this coach is about to say. And he said words, a phrase I'll never forget for the rest of my life. Pointed her right in the face. And he said, when you know why you do what you do, you'll have more power to do it. And he turns around and he walks off. My question to you watching this is, why do you do what you do? What's your purpose? Don't forget that. Write it down. Remember it. Think about it. Remind yourself of it in the middle of a workout, in the middle of a practice, when you're struggling. And this why needs to burn a fire in you. It needs to light your heart on fire. It will narrow your focus. It will cause you to do things that you wouldn't otherwise do. I will say this, you got to find the right one. It's yours. Don't judge yourself on what your why is. And don't let other people judge you on what your why is. And don't let someone tell you what your why should be or make you feel bad for your why. It's your why. If it's financial, don't be like, oh man, I feel so vain. I want to make $1 million. Well, is that going to get you out of bed every morning and have you work harder than you've ever worked before? Yeah. Then okay, let it be your why right now. Oh, my why is to be the fittest athlete in the world. Oof, I don't know if you should do that. Have you ever heard of all these other athletes who are way better than you? Oh yeah, I should lower my. No, do whatever you want. And if you want to get to the point, if you don't want to share your why with someone, don't share it. It's your own. I will also say this. Sometimes your why needs to change. A lot of my professional athletes, they have a certain why as they get to the NFL. They have a certain why on their way to the major leagues. But then once they get there, they notice that their why isn't driving them anymore because they're there. So get a new why. What else can you use? Find another thing that's going to drive you. Sometimes getting married, having a child, these big events in your life will shape the why that you have. Here's another thing. I was speaking with another NFL athlete. He said, it used to be to prove the haters wrong. His why used to be to prove the haters wrong, and that's what drove him. Now, his why is to prove the believers and his supporters right. That's powerful. So now he's not trying to prove the naysayers wrong. He's trying to prove his believers right. That little thing triggered everything. What's your why? Write it down and remember it. Number 9, mentally tough people don't run from pressure. You are going to experience pressure. There's something called the Yerkes-Dodson law. Basically, it's this correlation. So this is my graph for you guys. Y-axis, x-axis. On the x-axis, what we have right here is we have pressure, we have stress, and right here we have performance. And then the research shows that there's a loop, there's a bell curve right here. Basically, if you don't feel a lot of pressure going into something, you're going to get bored. You're going to get distracted. And as a byproduct, you're not going to perform very well. But the more pressure that's added on to you, all of a sudden your awareness is going to be heightened a little bit more, and performance is actually going to increase. We've seen this all over. People don't perform well during practice, but knock it out of the park under lights and when the world is watching. Now, the best way to do that is to keep sharpening your tools. The better you get at what you do, the more you're going to be able to sustain yourself under pressure. However, you've got to embrace it to see what you're made of. The refiner's fire. Embrace the pressure. The analogy I always love to give is that of an empty soda bottle. Soda can. So let's imagine an empty soda can. And we take an empty soda can deep into the ocean. All of you guys who love physics out there, what's going to happen to the soda can? It's going to crumple. Why? Because there's nothing in it. The pressure on the outside is greater than the pressure on the inside. It's going to crush. If we have a soda can we haven't opened, we compare them side by side, this one's not going to be touched. Why? Because the pressure on the inside of the can is stronger than the pressure on the outside. Same thing with performance. If you find yourself getting crushed by the pressure, number of things. Number 1, got to sharpen your tools. Just keep getting better. Become more competent at what you do. And then number 2, got to realize not filled up with enough here, not filled up with enough here. When you're filled up on the inside and you know why you do what you do and you have that confidence, no pressure from the outside will be able to crush you. But to test your durability, you got to put yourself in those pressure moments. Last but not least, number 10, the final thing that mentally tough people don't do, they don't treat people like trash. I have to put this one down. One of my favorite quotes is, it costs $0 to treat someone kindly. And I'm speaking mainly, I come from a team sports background. NFL athletes, Major League Baseball players. There is power in collective, in unity. There's power in bringing the best out of other people. We have something called the Belgian draft horse. The Belgian draft horse is one of the most powerful animals in the world. By itself, it could pull anywhere from 5,000 to 6,000 pounds. That's a lot of weight. If you put 2 random Belgian draft horses together, they'll pull anywhere from 15,000 to 18,000 pounds. I lied. By itself, 6 to 8. Together, 2 untrained horses, they're in the low 20s, 22 to 24. If these 2 horses train together and they have a good relationship and they know each other, they're going to pull anywhere in the low 30,000 pounds or more together. 6 to 8 by itself, mid-20s, not knowing each other, and then in the 30s. You cannot underestimate the power of relationships. One of the biggest indicators of happiness is the power of our relationships. And to know that you can enter a room, enter the gym, enter a relationship, and build the other person up, and they can do that for you, they can help you take you to a level you've never been before. Author Tim Elmore has one of my favorite quotes about this. He says, build a relationship so strong that it can bear the weight of truth. Build a relationship so strong that it can bear the weight of truth. Keep building strong relationships. get to know your teammates, get to know other people in the gym. Yeah, it might cause you have to get out of your comfort zone, get to know people on your team, find out how they're doing. And when they share with you good news, amplify it, ask them questions about it. The more we realize that the world doesn't revolve around us and that we can go out and help other people, what's going to happen? If you want to get what you want, by helping other people get what they want, it's amazing how much joy and happiness it's going to bring you. So there you have it. The 10 things mentally tough people don't do. Number 1, I'm going to read them. They don't underestimate the power of little things. Number 2, they don't let failure derail them. Number 3, they don't focus on their feelings. Number 4, they don't take their energy for granted. Number 5, they don't focus on the negative. Number 6, they don't anchor their confidence in the wrong things. Number 7, they don't play small. Number 8, they don't forget why they do what they do. Number 9, they don't run from pressure. Number 10, they don't treat people like trash. Here's what I'd like to do. If you could please, in your comments, I want you just to send me the number of the one trait, one of these 10 that really resonated with you. What's the one that you're like, you know what? All of these, I like them, but there was one in particular that you want to really work on. What's the one you really want to work on? So go ahead and punch it in, send it in. I'm very, very curious of what you guys have. All right. So we have some 7s in there. Oh, wow. 7s. I got to go back to my notes because I got to see what is 7s. Okay. Oh, playing small. That fired me up. I'm about to run through a wall right now. 7 fired me up too. So 3s, 1 and 7. Okay. So here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say to close. In closing. First of all, you guys are outstanding. So I'll say this. These are great. I'm watching all of these. Outstanding. I love these. These are outstanding. So I will say this to you guys. Work on one thing. Don't beat up on yourself and say, oh, now I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to pick one. Just pick one. And on your journey to the best version of yourself, you got to remember you're always under construction. You are always under construction. You're going to take some steps forward, some steps back, some leaps forward. You're going to take some huge leaps back. It's going to happen. It's part of elite performance. Happens to the best athletes in the world. But if I can tell you, if I can compare you to an animal, it would be the bulldog. Bulldogs are amazing. Bulldogs were used to herd bulls. And back in the days when the bull herder couldn't move a stubborn bull, the bulldog was trained to jump up and crush the bull's face. Now the bull now first of all, the bulldog would bark at the bull. It would bark at the bull and say, hey, you better get up. You better get up or we're going to dance. Now, obviously, the bull doesn't speak bulldog, so the bull doesn't move. It's a little bulldog. What are you going to do? I'm huge. The little bulldog would then jump up and crush the bull's face if the bull didn't move. Now it has the bull's attention. The bull stands up and has a little bulldog dangling from its face. Now, to relieve itself of the excruciating pain, it would take this bulldog and slam it in the trees, on the ground, in the rocks, over and over again. The bulldog will take a pounding, an absolute pounding, but would never let go. Never let go. Until finally the bull can't take enough of the pain. It can't take any more. Will fall to the ground. The bulldog, after taking a beating, will let go, will back up and start barking. You better get up. You better get up. We're going to do this again. Now the bull speaks bulldog. The bull will stand up and follow that little bulldog wherever it goes. My invitation to you, my friends, whoever's watching this, is to have the bulldog mentality and to know that when you grab a hold of that dream or grab a hold of what you want, you are going to take an absolute beating. Just so you know, you cannot underestimate how hard it's going to be and how long it's going to take. You're going to have days where you question why you even set that goal. You question if you should even continue to do the sport. You question if all of your work up to this point was a waste of time. Completely normal. Completely normal. Reconnect to your why. Reconnect to your journey. Surround yourself with go-to people. Surround yourself with go-to habits and keep going. Please continue to reach out to me. My Instagram is @JustinSua. If you want to ask any further questions, JUSTANSUA. I'm really easy to find. I'll try to reach out to you and answer your questions in a timely manner. We have a podcast every day, and all the links are on my Instagram. Just find me there. Thank you guys so much. Absolute pleasure being with you guys. Hopefully you have the Bulldog mentality. Go and work on these things, and good luck with everything. Thank you so much.